All right, we're live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we're going to look at some good news for crypto, okay? Because this past entire week, crypto's been taking an absolute beating. Seems like we've just had nothing but FUD and bad news come out of, pretty much everywhere, okay? Something about something that's actually good for crypto today. I think some of the bad, news and fears that we've seen over the past week or so are starting to kind of settle down a little bit. So I want to talk about that in this video today. We're going to answer some of your questions, look at a lot of other news updates that have happened in the space since our last live stream yesterday. Again, we do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel about 9:30 a.m. Central Time. Just subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. You'll find out about those whenever we go live. So last but not least, nothing inside this video is designed to be financial advice. There's lots of scammers impersonating me down in the comment section below. Just ignore them. Like, I'll never give you my phone number or ask you to invest with me. So we got people jumping in the chat here. We got Automatic Beats, Culture Hives, Lee, Oleg, Kaz, Crypto, Wrath, ADM, Marwan, Nathan, Isaac. Welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's talk about some good news for crypto. And we'll kind of set the stage for this. You might have been watching the live streams previously, and you might have heard some of these, but in case you haven't, a lot of the fears that have been in the marketplace lately have surrounded, two or three, maybe four things as we've seen crypto prices tumble. Of course, over the past 7 days, let me just pull up on my screen here, we've seen, crypto kind of take a nosedive, all right? And we saw it, let me see if I can move this over. We saw it start to slightly recover, all right, from the bottom out. So what are some of the big reasons for this? Well, we talked about this quite a bit. We've seen a lot of regulatory fear in the crypto markets. We've seen statements from SEC Chair Gary Gensler. We've seen how SEC's treated Coinbase trying to launch their Lend product. We've seen the Evergrande scenario playing out. People worried about a contagion event for the global economy, and also worry from the Fed meeting that's happened this past week, right? It's actually yesterday. Worrying that basically, a lot of the monetary policy that we've seen contribute to this favorable environment for crypto, for equities markets, for any asset, that you can buy and hope to appreciate in value. The Fed monetary policy over the past, 2 years and really longer, but mostly in the past 2 years, has actually helped this because asset prices have increased during this time of loose monetary policy. So one of the things that people have been worried about with the markets that I think have been, kind of causing some of the fear in the marketplace is fear that the Fed would announce, some sort of strong tapering signal for their bond buying and their intent to raise inflation rates. Or not inflation rates. Their intent to raise interest rates, sorry. So we did not get any strong indication of that from the Fed yesterday, okay? And as that happened, we saw, hold on a second, this video is starting to go off here. As we saw that, we saw a pretty strong response to that across pretty much all markets. So stocks, crypto, et cetera. This is the type of thing that, lots of traders are watching for this signal. And we kind of, got no, it's one of those situations where no news is good news, okay? And we got no news of this, and we saw markets pretty much across the board respond to this, okay? So this is actually some good news for crypto. Now, that being said, in terms of, tapering and, raising rates in some fashion, it's likely a scenario where we're just kicking this can down the road. All right, it's probably got to happen at some point. So some people are thinking that we'll get an announcement about this, maybe later this year. We already see some whisperings of Fed intent to raise interest rates, penciling that in for 2022. We've heard it, say 2023, and then they kind of just keep pushing it forward and forward. So we'll see. It doesn't mean that this is like a never thing, but it's a probably not now thing. So anyways, in the short term, this is a good thing for crypto, at least the prices of crypto. And we can see that, like I was saying, reflected here. Bitcoin price back up to $44,000. Ethereum's almost up to $3,200. Of course, Bitcoin bottomed out around, I think it dipped into the 40s. It probably wicked down depending on the exchange you're watching. I think Ethereum wicked down into 2,700s, depending on the exchange as well. During this entire time, I've been saying that, I'm still cautiously bullish on this space because ultimately nothing's fundamentally changed. We're still seeing the adoption. We're still seeing massive inflows of capital in this space. I think a lot of people are seeing this as an opportunity to buy the dip because they ultimately think these asset prices are going to be a lot higher. I think a lot of people out there are still very realistic about a $10,000 Ether and a $100,000 Bitcoin. Okay, and we're talking about the risk-reward scenario in this case. I think they're seeing, that's going to happen at some point. At least they think that it's going to. I personally think it's going to. And so, why wouldn't you treat this like a dip buying opportunity with funds that you don't need immediately? All right, that's at least how I think about it. So, fundamentally nothing has changed in my mind. That's why I'm still cautiously bullish on the overall space. Of course, in the short term, we don't exactly know what's going to happen. But as far as the other, big events like the Evergrande scenario, like I said, I'm still thinking about this like a non-contagion event, like not something that's going to take the entire, global economy, everything down. Not because, like I was saying, not because I'm an expert in macroeconomics or the real estate market in Asia, but just based on pure probability, right? The likelihood that you could correctly identify those things before they happen is so small. Even experts, right? Even top tier experts get that wrong all the time. So I don't think it's going to happen. I'm still cautiously bullish on the space. So something else I saw come up yesterday that I thought was pretty interesting around crypto is this. Let me pull it up here. Is Robinhood setting to release a crypto wallet? Okay. So, this is actually an announcement from Robinhood's own blog. So Robinhood is a major player in the crypto boom that happened at the beginning of this year. Basically, they launched the ability to trade crypto in the app itself. Okay, so I'm not personally a Robinhood user, so if I get some of these details slightly wrong, let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know down in the chat. But my understanding of how Robinhood integrated the crypto app was that you could just sort of buy and sell crypto, but you couldn't really withdraw it from the app. And if you wanted to take it out, you had to cash it out and remove your funds, of course, which would create a taxable event. So that's not very desirable for people who are kind of getting into crypto as a one-way street. All right. But it looks like they're doubling down on their commitment to crypto. And I think when I saw Robinhood's earnings reports, I think there was something crypto was a massive, massive, massive part of their earnings. I think in Q1 and Q2. I think Dogecoin in particular was an astronomical percentage of those earnings. So anyways, it seems like crypto is definitely making Robinhood a significant amount of money. And that's one of the reasons we're seeing the crypto wallets coming soon. So when wallets, good news, they're here. Well, they're coming. You can join the wait list. All right, you can sign up here. I'll just put a link in the blog post if you're a Robinhood user and you want to check on this. So Robinhood crypto wallets will allow you to move crypto in and out of the app in a few taps. So it will allow you to actually export crypto and receive crypto. Send your crypto to other wallets, addresses, and receive supported cryptocurrencies, of course, into your Robinhood account. This means you can consolidate your coins into one account so it's easier to track your portfolio, move supported coins into your Robinhood account so you can trade those coins commission-free and more. Commission-free. I like it. Awesome. So very cool. Anyways, this is a big deal because, Robinhood, I think, played a significant part in the crypto boom that happened earlier this year, especially with Dogecoin. I think that them upping their game and doubling down on crypto is a net positive for the space. I know people have pretty mixed opinions about Robinhood. I know people have pretty mixed opinions about meme coins like Dogecoin, for example. But in my opinion, it's one of those things where it brings more people in to the space. And, it's going to create a lot of people who have stickiness into the space and actually expand their horizons. And that's sort of like the entry point for them. So I think it's a net positive. There will definitely be some casualties along the way. But, yeah, I think it's good. let's see here. Have I seen the Bitcoin Foundation hack? No, I have not. So it says lost hope for $100,000 Bitcoin this cycle. I haven't lost hope for 100,000 Bitcoin. Not in this cycle. So, I mean, things to think about. Like I said, it's not financial advice. I mean, nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. But, I mean, I think it's very possible that, you know, I think it's very possible that we're either in a very elongated cycle that could extend well into next year. Or, well, I see three possible scenarios. We're in an elongated cycle that is going to extend into next year, or we're about to peak out like really soon where we start to see some bullish momentum and then that sort of like becomes the parabolic blow off top, or that we are in just a much, much, much longer, you know, super cycle. Okay. I really just don't think that what we're in right now is some sort of dead cat bounce into a long bear market. I really don't, just because of the fundamentals of the space. There's a probability that that's true, but I don't think so. If I had to rank the likelihood of the possible scenarios that I think that we're in, this is really, a lot of this is based on intuition. A lot of this is based upon, you know, I mean, it's based upon evidence, but, you know, you can't always just like prove everything, right? So if I had to rank the scenarios in terms of likelihood, I'd say the most likely scenario is that we are in a cycle that looks somewhat similar to the previous cycles, but is elongated. That, you know, where we would create some sort of, you know, euphoric blow off top in many months from now, whether that's, you know, probably into 2022. That's probably the most likely scenario. The second most likely scenario, in my opinion, is that we are going to go up and then we have some sort of parabolic blow off top like soon, like October, November, maybe December. The third most likely is a elongated super cycle. That's like a multi-year thing. And then the least likely scenario, in my opinion, is that we're in a bear market. Okay, so let's see here. Got some questions in the chat. So somebody says, how do I not get burnt out? I've been burned out, trust me. I'm not burned out now, but that's a good question. I think I don't have a good answer. I think the secret is whenever you feel like burnt out and you realize, well, you don't have a choice to be burnt out. So you work through burnout and you emerge stronger on the other side. Somebody says drugs. No, I definitely don't do drugs. I drink coffee. That's about it. Exercise does help too. Yep, that's right. Okay, so let's look at yeah, I mean, I try to stay pretty healthy. I drink coffee. Consume a very moderate amount of alcohol, not very much though, not very regularly. Try to eat a pretty healthy diet. Exercise multiple times per week. I don't exercise nearly as often as I used to. I used to work out like 5 days a week. There's a fancy drink in the background. Yeah, it's out of my collection. It's a Glen Farkless 25-year-old single malt. Okay, so let's look at some other things that have popped up. Let's look at watch the burn. Well, let's actually look at ultrasound. Let's actually check on ETH burning statistics. Okay, let's check on kind of the growth of the Ethereum ecosystem. Watch some of the metrics that are happening right now. So, the network activity has cooled down a little bit on top of ETH right now. I think part of it's because the crashes kind of cooled off. So basically, like whenever you see these big price crashes happening, people panic sell. And so you start seeing ETH burned like crazy because they're swapping ETH for stable coins, or they're swapping other tokens. It may not be ETH necessarily, but they're doing lots of swaps, trying to tether up, so to speak, get it to stable coins to reduce that risk. And so whenever that happens, you see the gas prices soar. Lots of people are trying to get into the network at the same time, and so you see massive burns per block. Now that's cooled off for all the reasons I talked about in this video. And so we don't see any deflationary blocks here, but we have seen quite a bit of deflation over the past, couple weeks, or about past week for sure. So, you can see here on Uniswap version 2, we had 2,500 Ether burned over the past 7 days. That's a lot. And it died down significantly over the past day. So if you were to simulate the merge, ETH would be net deflationary negative, minus 1.9% inflation or 1.9% deflation per year. So we can also check on what's happening with the layer 2 adoption. This is something that I'm still keeping a pretty close eye on, the layer 2 ecosystem. So Arbitrum is still going strong. So you got to be careful about the TVL metrics on some of these because you see something's gonna be kind of misleading. You see like a 7-day change minus negative 6.78%. Some of that literally has to do with the price of the assets. Okay, because total value locked. You're talking about you're talking about the amount of US dollar value locked in the protocols, not the amount of not the number of units of assets. So let's say we're measuring this in Ether only. Of course, it's going to be a mixture of other funds for sure. But let's just say you were only doing it in terms of ETH. Well, you would basically you'd have to also know the number of units of Ether locked up, not just the US dollar amount. Because we see crypto prices tank like this, then that's going to have an impact. But even with that being said, we're still seeing it's a pretty impressive, liftoff from nowhere of TVL into the Arbitrum ecosystem. And I'm excited to keep an eye on this for sure. It actually looks like they have, like an ETH slider here. So if you look at, this is what's happened to the US dollar amount, and the ETH amount is really just kind of leveled off. Okay, I would still kind of consider this, in a little bit of a plateau. Maybe it's still kind of trending up, and we had a little bubble here along the way. But if you look at ETH terms, still, and I don't know if this is just the ETH equivalent. So that could also mean that other tokens that got hit harder than ETH are included in this, but you're expressing their price in ETH, so maybe they lost more value than ETH. So it's hard to say. I'd love to see the total number of units of assets somehow, because that, I think, could give you a pretty clear picture, or another way of looking at it. Somebody says, how busy is your day with your daily YouTube uploading and your blockchain dev work? How do you edit all this such little time? And somebody says, pretty sure has a team helping. Yeah, I've got several people that help me. So say, what is the best exchange you can trade on? That's a good question. It depends on what you mean. If you mean decentralized exchange or centralized exchange. If you're in America, I think Coinbase is a pretty good option. Coinbase Pro. Okay, so let's get other questions in the chat here. Yeah, this is definitely live, zero editing. I do use OBS for this. I don't edit anything on these videos, on the live videos. Now, the published videos, I do have somebody who edits those for me. Yeah, somebody says do Coinbase Pro to save fees. Definitely. So somebody's about staking ETH, they have less ETH. So there are ways to do this. You just can't do it at the protocol level with ETH. You can join a pool. Now, of course, they're going to take out a percentage. There's going to be custodial risk, of course, but that is a way. Is Solidity the best language to learn for blockchain? So I'll give you my quick answer on this. So right now, at this point in time, that's what I would definitely recommend to learn for lots of reasons. So number one, especially if you're a beginner, it's got a lot of wide support. It's a pretty beginner-friendly language on the grand scheme of things. It's high demand, particularly for the Ethereum ecosystem, and you can use it on a bunch of different blockchains who have all basically created ways for you to run Solidity applications on their particular environments. They're EVM compatible. Okay, so you're talking about you can do it on Ethereum, you can do it on Polygon, you can do it on Avalanche, you can do it on all these different ecosystems, and Binance Smart Chain, all these different ecosystems that have allowed you to run Ethereum smart contracts on their chains. So you're going to reap the benefit of all these different things, okay? So yeah, Solidity is in high demand, especially anybody who's doing anything related to NFTs or DeFi, two of the most popular use cases for blockchain right now. I mean, that's an umbrella of use cases. So I mean, there are other things you could learn, but you want to go somewhere where you've got a lot of developers. It's got the most developers out of any blockchain ecosystem. You don't want to get in you don't want to start learning and then try to figure out how to solve a problem and then not be able to solve that problem because nobody knows how to help you. You want to have good learning resources around those things. That's primarily what I try to help you do on this channel. All that type of stuff. What's your best advice to fast track learning blockchain? So yeah, it's a good question. So here's the fast track. The fast track is to basically learn by doing. So jump in with a structured tutorial that teaches you everything from scratch while you're building something for real in priority order. So what I mean by this is if you're going to learn blockchain, you don't want to start off and learn a bunch of programming languages first and then try to go learn specifically about blockchain and then go try to learn to build your own project. This is the wrong way to do it because it takes way too long. What you want to do is jump into a structured environment that introduces you to new concepts while you're building a project. And you start off with the most important thing first, which is the blockchain knowledge with Solidity. And then you learn that, and then you learn everything else as you go, which is the next skill that I would add from the blockchain developer stack for most people, especially if they're starting out. Would be some front-end development skills and some testing skills, and that's where JavaScript comes into play, and you learn all the things around JavaScript that help put those things together. So that you can check out any of the free tutorials I've done on YouTube. Go to my YouTube homepage, you find those courses there, that Udemy courses, but totally free. But since you asked about the shortcut, my number one recommendation is to do the blockchain bootcamp. So there's a link down in the description below. Do you think it's possible to make a liquidity pool? Hold on a second. Do you think it's possible to make a liquidity pool with flash loans included? As loans are repaid in the same transaction, what stops people from lending it out? That's how flash loans work. Basically, the flash loans are coming from lending pools. So let's see here. Lots of FUD about ETH. Yep, that happens. I guess you should ask the question like, why does everybody uh want to why is everybody FUD the same thing? It's because it's competition. Why do you think you have like 10 people surrounding ETH saying, "Oh, this thing's terrible. We can do it better"? So this is what kind of person builds a server and becomes a validator. So a lot of the skills you're talking about are DevOps skills or system administration. Somebody says, I'm learning blockchain development, but it's getting overwhelming with front end plus back end. Should I just focus on Solidity or basic front end first? I would start with Solidity. If you feel overwhelmed, I would start with Solidity. Well, there's actually two schools of thought on this. If you really just want to focus on one, focus on Solidity. The alternative option is keep doing both until it starts to make sense. That's probably the faster way. Now, I like to optimize for speed when you're learning because it's gonna help you like retain information faster or just better, in my opinion. But there is a trade-off typically when you're talking about speed, which is comfort level, right? Like you can learn something fast, but it's not always. Sometimes it's painful, right? Sometimes it like stretches you, and that type of stuff. So the fastest way is probably just to stick with it until both start to make sense. And you're not gonna understand it perfectly, but you're gonna get to the point where it starts to click, and you kind of see the basics about how each thing talks to one another. That's probably the faster way to do it. But if you want to just slow down and just focus on something, that I would recommend focusing on Solidity only. So somebody says, PayPal adding savings account. What are your thoughts on Ethereum over there in particular? Talking about storing ETH on PayPal, it just depends on how much you're talking about. I wouldn't store like a significant amount, but if you want to store some, it's probably okay. I don't know though. I've never used PayPal for crypto, but I mean, they have quite a extensive reputation and a lot of skin in the game to not just like become insolvent and take your money. So will FTX take over the world? I don't know the answer to that question. It's a non-zero chance. So how can dApps be deployed using cloud computing? So I'm trying to figure out what the question is there is. I mean, technically, you could do anything on a cloud computer if you can SSH into it and then just use it like a normal Linux computer. So you could do anything. That could be your full-time development IDE. Now it's going to be kind of weird because you're going to have a little bit of latency with SSH, but I mean, you could deploy dApps the same way. If you're talking about like automated deployments or something like that, you could create some sort of process on that computer that deploys it. How do people make evolving NFTs after every transaction in Solidity? So it's a good question. Basically, inside the transfer function of the NFT, you want to do the encoding there. Now, I don't have the secret sauce on how every NFT does this. CryptoKitties kind of started this with their breeding contract. I mean, there may have been somebody before them who did that, but they were one of the first for sure. Who kind of had some secrets into how they bred two kitties together. I think you can see this with Axes as well. But you definitely want to code it into the transfer function about modifying some characteristic of the NFT itself. So maybe if you have different attributes, like let's say it's a generative, like a profile picture NFT that has these different characteristics, maybe you rotate one of the attributes during the transfer or something like that. Or maybe you give it a new unique attribute that's never been seen on a different NFT. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so the more people can learn about blockchain. And if you're as fast at this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you went to the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a massive shortcut entirely, I actually become a blockchain master step-by-step, start to finish, over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp.